Winning time, the rise of the dynasty, the Lakers, all of that. And let me say this: I still am enjoying the show. We're in sort of like, I want to say filler mode, but we're in the transition phase of the season and the show and the history between the coach on the left, Paul Westhead, and Pat Riley, played by Adrian Brody, there in the middle, who becomes the legendary Lakers coach. So this is the uh, sort of like the chaos before the chaos, right? So we have two episodes. I was behind because of the hurricane, and this is difficult for me because I didn't read the source material. I don't know exactly what is truth. This is about Paul Westhead and his ego, his head getting too big for his britches, right? Because he's implemented, quote, the system, and magic is miserable. And people start mocking Paul and his perspective on things. And the Celtic Laker rivalry is at an all time peak. And Jerry Buss is trying to make situations right with Magic by doing this like $1 million a year for 25 years deal, which, as you can see, that's supposed to be read. The owner of the Celtics leaks it out and creates even more chaos. And that's kind of how things sort of play out for a little while with the show. And the first episode is just sort of the deterioration of that as you start to see Magic really struggling, because this is about a very strict, structured sort of attack on the other team, and not allowing for any sort of like freelancing and independent and things that would make Magic Johnson excel in his game. He's also very young, he's immature, those kinds of things. And you see things just sort of kind of like starting to fall apart. You see Kareem getting frustrated. He's excelling because he's the center of the offense, and then of course Magic is doing everything he can to get garner support. So they get off to the season, the 2-4 start, not well, right? And then it's all about just try to just get through. There's meltdowns on the bus. There's confrontations within the organization, and you have him and Magic trying to work it out. And then you have sort of some backstory stuff. Now, the backstory stuff doesn't bog down this season as much as it did last season. Um, they're both good and bad with that. Like, I don't dislike all of that. I just didn't want it to be so much center stage like it was last year. Now I think it takes too much of a backseat, and I don't care that much about it. So it's kind of a tricky thing where it's like that's the weaker element of the show. So there's just different elements here of, and this is a great shot where you see Magic talking with Pat Riley about, coach has lost his brain, man. We're losing teams we shouldn't lose to. We're barely beating teams we should be blowing out. No one's doing anything. He's talking like this, he's talking like that, and it turns into just a mess. It ultimately ends up with like just absolute chaos, and they get on a little bit of, oh, this is the backstory of Jerry and this, stripper girl, hot girl that he ends up wanting to marry. But they're struggling bad. They're losing. They barely win. And you can see the frustration. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and escalates. And then just like a little bit of a screaming match in the end of the game off court. And then they kind of get pulled aside, and it's very confrontational and that kind of thing. And I kind of get it. I kind of get both sides of this. Like, I think the crux of the problem is, and I think historically that this part is true, is Paul Westhead was not interested in capitalizing on the talent he had. He was interested in implementing his system, his way of coaching and running the offense and all of that. And that puts him at odds with some of his players' strengths, in this case, Magic Johnson. So it comes to a head because it kind of works its way out. He thinks things are going great, and then Magic, of course, is melting down before he talks to the press, and ultimately it culminates with, I don't want to be here. So episode 5 tends to lend itself to get you to where you kind of want to be, basically. Like you sort of like get what you want. You want to see the journey speed up a little bit. Like, we've had enough. We've had enough of, season 1. Now we're into season 2. We want to really start to see who the Lakers dynasty is. And with that, we need to see Pat Riley take the helm. So this is the Pat Riley episode, right? Episode 5. And you see Pat constantly doing damage control, trying to talk to Paul, trying to play mediator. And there is really some great performances here. I have to be honest. Paul's just not getting it. He's not hearing it. He is like totally blind to how bad things have gotten. Okay. And, you get to the credits and you have Jerry trying to play damage control. Oh, this is an interesting scene with Paul's daughter. It's a quick little shot of a family we could care absolutely less. We've never met them before. But the daughter is like, Dad, you're going to get fired. This is bad. And it's interesting because she has the pulse of pop culture. She has the pulse of even the regular people out in the world who are not NBA nuts know about Magic. They know about the Lakers. Like, it was such a big deal. So Paul being at odds with that, it's clear the organization is going to choose what's selling tickets and making money and winning games. No offense to Paul, but he's more expendable than Magic Johnson would have been. And the daughter is on the nose up front and confronts him about it. And it is pretty good. They do a pretty good job of handling this and kind of like giving you this moment where he's just like not hearing her. And it's funny because it's one of these things that you would think doesn't age well, but it really does. And then when he goes to go talk to Jerry Buss, he meets like the warden. Everyone is shrugging him off. He sees names on a whiteboard. He knows he's getting fired. He knows he's getting fired. And it kind of comes to a hit. It's like, we've moved on. It's over. And then we waste a bunch of time. So I love the show. The show doesn't do this often. Again, didn't read the books, don't know all the stuff. There's so much time wasted on they want Jerry West. And there's just all this time, who we're going to have. We have to have Pat Riley having conversations with himself, thinking about his dad. And then this absolutely horrible press conference that Jerry Buss is asked about. We kind of have a coach, but really an assistant coach, but really this and that. And okay, I don't know. It was fine. All of this is fine because it does get you to where you want to go. But this isn't as necessary as the time they spent on it, because at the end of the day, all of this is forgotten. At the end of the day, all that's going to matter is, do they win games? How do they adapt? How does Pat Riley adapt, and all of that? That's all that matters. And we get there pretty quickly. So, and I say, I'm going through a lot of information, all of the last episode, and we're 20 minutes in this episode. So we kind of get to the point where you're Jerry, and they basically hand the key. And Cream is mad because Cream feels like he was getting his way with Paul, and he confronts Jerry, and Jerry's like trying to talk about money. So I think I said this in my last video. I'll say it again. If I took this was happening in real time, I would have been in Jerry's ear going, you need to have Kareem immediately in here signing like a 5-year extension for more money than Magic was going to make. Like, same kind of thing. And now there's all this conversation, and it's just, to Jerry, it's presented in a way where it's off-putting to Kareem. This is a quick little scene with Jenny and the new wife. She can't stand her, and then she sees Magic, and she respects that Magic stood up to the dad, even though Magic's going through a tough time. They have a great little bonding sequence here, and then it's about turning things over to Pat Riley, and nobody believing in him, them not doing well, them having a hard time, and then he finally flips the script. He finally embraces. Pat wants to be at a place of peace and almost like their friend, and not to be like his dad, just screaming, ranting, cussing, authoritarian. But he realizes he has to do a little bit of both. He has to have a foot in their behind as their friend, do it out of their best interest, and that will create the results that he's looking for. And you immediately see that through the final. It's 6 minutes, but that includes credits, where you basically end up with all the lights go on. They call it in for coach, and then they start winning some games. And they start winning some games, and they start rocking and rolling. And you get to the end where everyone's expecting them to beat the Celtics, and it's not. It's the Sixers win. So the wedding sequence, and they're there. The Sixers win, and the Boston fans are going beat LA, and this is them all going F Boston. So, not my favorite of the episodes. Not my favorite sequence in the grand scheme of a show. That's probably the better show of the ones I'm watching week to week. It is sort of like, again, it's kind of like filler, but it's not. It's sort of like, it's almost like the prelude to when I think I want to really watch. I really want to see what happens now, because they obviously they're going to go on. They're going to play the Sixers for that championship, and then you have what happens next. And we had this foreshadowed in episode 1, I believe it was, with the 84, where they face Boston in a finals for the first time. So we still have a bit to get there. We got to get to this championship. We got to get to the 83 season and then get to the 84 season. So that's kind of what's happening. I'm enjoying the show. I don't know if you guys are watching it or not. I still would recommend it. It's raunchy, lots of language. Got to keep your finger on that remote to avoid a couple of the nude scenes. There's a couple. It's not regularly, but there have been a couple. So it's not that kind of thing. But I think that sadly and truthfully does depict the situation. So that's my take on it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I am Pops. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Right? And I'm not